we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to our project management meeting. Our first item, well, let's introduce our team. We'll start down here.
I'm Tyler, I'm the building official.
Justin Schinsel, Public Works Director.
I'm Jenny Knight, City Administrator.
Matt Robertson, City Engineer.
Brandon Green, Zoning.
Doug Jepson, Planning Water Systems.
So we've got first Elite 3 Construction. Come on up to the table. We can try and fit your whole group if you'd like. This I did not pull up. Sophia, let me do that really quick. Make sure we're talking about the same parcel.
Yeah, let's get that straight.
Yeah, we had a little confusion on the phone with the number.
Yeah.
Is it right next to
So
Saunders?
it's right south of Saunders.
Because the address was Saunders' address, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The address
Yeah.
with the application came in at 1601,
Right.
but it's actually this parcel, I believe. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So this is the parcel we're talking about, and the project application includes a building. So why don't you guys go ahead and tell us what your plan is?
Okay, so I'm Ryan Savage. This is Shane Perry, Corey Campbell, just so you guys know our names. So we have put an offer in on this lot, and we're looking to get started right away on building it. And we just wanted to come with this meeting. We have a couple questions, just make sure we don't have any like huge red flags that, you know, wouldn't be able to be overcome in order for us to not build on the property as well. We just want to make sure that everything's green lighted before we start and spend a lot of money.
Sure.
Well, there's one huge issue if you haven't been out there already. Water, stormwater,
Yeah.
and how because Saunders did own it, they used it as kind of just a runoff area,
Yes.
and all their stormwater runs back.
So we have
And
2 acres of stormwater we need to deal with.
Yeah.
And that is our number one.
And the hard thing is getting Wildcat, the storage units at the end behind Saunders, to allow you to tie back into their line that gets out.
Right,
the
because
canal.
Saunders and this site doesn't go anywhere.
No, it
There's
stays
no
there.
infrastructure.
Okay. So there's nothing in the street that we can tie
No
into?
stormwater, not in that area.
So Wildcat Storage, like Justin was saying, has their system in detention, and then they tie in their northwest corner into the western canal.
Do you wanna?
Do you want to pull the maps?
Yeah. Just go to Jones.
And the problem we have there too, if you notice, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen it. You know, Saunders brings all their, they bring it all to there, but it doesn't. That ground is so, just that hard clay, and it doesn't percolate. So that water gets there and just sits. It doesn't go. It doesn't get into the ground. So any kind of like retention, or trying to percolate or infiltrate. is
So
down to the
why
ground.
doesn't Saunders have to do anything with their stormwater?
Well, this is what they used to.
Yeah,
do.
but they don't own it anymore though.
Right, I know. That's
Well, there's a warranty deed in place saying that we'll accept their water, so we've got it. It's ours if we buy it.
And that's kind of what's held people up in the past from doing
I
anything
know.
with it.
And honestly, I think that's why Saunders bought it originally, because their water was going there and it was causing a problem. So they just bought it. But
So what we've tried to do is with this is try to ask people if there was, or get Wildcat on board to see if they could come into this little piece, connect into that catch basin,
yeah,
and run a line back this way, because it actually outfalls right into the canal. But again, I don't know the depth of that. I don't know how any of that would be able to tie in, because
Okay.
Western's been very, they don't want any more stormwater being tied into their canal, if at all possible. Because they've been fighting over the years through the cities that they're trying to figure out a way to meter that to make us pay for excess stormwater dumped into the canal. So yeah, this place has its own private detention pond that doesn't go anywhere. It just kind of fills up and stays stagnant all year round. So that's, I mean, like we said, it's kind of that hard piece where we don't have any infrastructure in the road for stormwater until we get clear
Turn, north right there.
right there.
That's the nearest one right there. Huh?
Yeah.
Right where you guys are building.
Yeah. Yep. That's kind of the main hardest thing in that piece, and then I know there's quite a bit. I imagine if you guys are buying that piece, you'll have to get it cleaned out, and there's some code enforcement issues with that. But
Yeah, we're aware of that, and I think they're working on that. So really the only solution is being able to tie into that area with the storage units, which is,
unless,
did Saunders try that originally?
I don't know, unless we could somehow get an easement through Union Pacific to run down this easement, and then also get the buyout on Western to let us tie in.
That's not gonna happen.
You're not
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying.
I doubt that's gonna
I mean,
happen.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
just come up with
right.
solutions,
So
because,
your best, I think you're right, Justin, your best bet would be to see what the depth in that catch basin is and see if, if you had a detention, if you had your own detention along the west side, so you detain that water before you release it over into wildcat storage.
Could we build a detention pond on our rear lot?
On the west end. A lot of the water is accumulating right there on the top, on the east.
no,
end.
it all flows, I mean, you can
That's
see,
it, yeah.
they've
Yeah,
got that
it
little
all-
They got that
waterway.
waterway.
So
And
if
then they
we-
kinda did
If we
you
caught
can
it
tell
there,
that's a little makeshift pond
So if
thing
we
in.
caught it there, we ran it to the
West.
west, and
Out
had a
there,
detention
ran
pond
back
back in
in.
that corner where there's, I mean, we're not gonna use that corner anyway.
Couldn't you share the corner with Saunders or with?
So the parcel line.
we'd be catching all their water from east and running it all back there.
So how big would that need to be, that catch basin, for two acres of water?
25 years stored.
Yeah, it's not on the top of my head, but I mean, you could figure that out.
It wouldn't be,
I mean, we talking like a
Wouldn't be-
third of the lot, a quarter?
Yeah,
an eighth?
maybe a quarter at most. I would think it'd probably be less than that.
Should we put some fish and ducks on it too?
Well, and the idea, right? If we do detention,
So-
right? If it's detention, you're still tying into Wildcat.
this is the size of a basin for this whole development, this whole subdivision.
Yeah, it's pretty tiny.
So,
Yeah.
just a 2-acre piece, you know,
We
it
could shift this.
still wouldn't be very big.
Just retention pond right back in that corner right there. Pump it all the way back into that pond, that detention pond back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have something along the north property line there to catch all that water and then take it back there, so.
3-foot retaining wall, will catch it and send it down.
Yeah,
Put it
that
on
would
their
stop
property.
Yeah.
So that's worst case, we can just build a pond back there and,
But still tied into Wildcat storage.
oh, we'd still have to
Just still
tie
have
it
to
in?
tie it in.
Because detention is you.
But what if these guys down here are just collecting the water in one spot? Why can't we?
Well, because we gotta follow our current standards. I mean,
Oh,
this was
okay.
built.
No, you're fine. I was just
Right,
wondering.
who knows how
So,
long ago.
Yeah.
And detention would be, you're putting it in your pond, you've got an orifice plate that releases it at that detained rate. And
Right.
then, it has an overflow as well, so it drains out. We're not talking retention. Cause retention, like I said there, I mean, you could have a geotech, report done on the site that identifies, your depth to groundwater, the percolation or infiltration rate of the soils, but pretty positive it's gonna show that it's not gonna go down. So you
Yeah.
get one storm, it fills it up, it doesn't go anywhere. Now you don't have any capacity for any future storms.
All right, so we'd have to get an easement from Saunders to go through their property.
And I would hope, right, that he
I
said,
mean-
we're taking your water, so I would hope that they'd be
Yeah.
amenable to an easement to do that.
And then maybe a miracle to get the storage units to agree.
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing you'd want to do is talk to the storage shed, talk to them and see if they could at least let you get back in there and take a shot on the elevation of that storm drain to see if it's even feasible. If the grades even work to
Yeah.
get back up there.
I mean, it does have quite a bit of slope this way, but going across it's pretty flat. And I don't know how deep they
I
are.
know, it's a tough site because it sits so far kind of below the road too. If that didn't work, I guess your other option would be to have a geotech report and see what size, see if retention would work at all, or what size it would need to be. But, generally speaking, we hope something can work out, because I would have guessed the city would like to
Yes, we
see
would,
something built there.
we
instead
would
of the
rather have
issues we've had there.
something nice and new proposed buildings than we would the junkyard that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So what are the neighbors straight across the street, what are they doing? The excavating company, what are they doing with their water?
They received permission through HHI to take it back to their pond.
Oh, yeah.
So
There's that
they
pond
take
back
it,
there.
they take it back into there.
Okay.
Any other
And
utility?
again, I guess the other question is, what also deems is the non-permeable surface? Like if yours gonna be completely asphalted around your building,
Correct. Yeah, that's
you know, they've got a lot of open gravel. So essentially they're only worried about this little bit. Everything else, you know, they can
Right, they've got their little,
percolate in the ground.
yeah. They've got their little pond in the back,
They got their
right?
little pond.
Yeah, I
And
see
that-
it.
And then that outlets back to the
yeah.
HHI pond.
Yeah, we're asphalting the majority of it, so.
Yeah.
We'd love to see something work there, because it is, even the runoff from Saunders is an issue, so if we figure out some kind of solution, that'd be great.
All right, anything else to get creative with that? If we can't tie in with why would the storage units let us tie in? We're gonna have to talk money, right? That's gonna be the only reason they'd allow it.
Cutting into it.
Yeah, and so that's the tough thing is, it's not actually a city storm drain,
Yeah.
so we can't force them, it's actually
They're private.
private.
Actually, I might be able to look up.
Could they come across the road over to the pond that
HHIs?
HHI is, or that business is draining into that pond? Can they, I don't know.
Oh,
That's
potentially.
expensive
More
too,
expensive,
but-
yeah.
But eventually, does
That
the
might be
city have
cheaper, to
plans
be
to
honest
get-
with you. You're talking distance between there and forcing it over in that pond.
Yeah.
Depending on the elevation, it might just flow that way once you get across the street.
Cause you're already intercepting it at the
Correct.
east end of the water, or
Yeah,
whatever.
because if everything's piling in, on the east side, you can just take it and force it over there. I don't know, maybe not. It's probably sixes, probably.
Yeah, that could be another option if you had your detention pond in the front where Saunders was bringing their water already. And then if your site drained that way as well and get across the road, you have to get an easement through Montgomery.
Could both of those ponds, Montgomery's and this pond, be sized so that they're big enough to handle both and then just drain it into that? I don't know. Just trying to
Well,
think.
yeah, it'd be sized to handle their lot and I guess Saunders. And then come across and you'd probably have a pipe to go through,
Parking lot
the
there.
yard there of Montgomery, which is on the east side.
That frontage of the lot's 120 feet, I think. And where that water's sitting right now would essentially be right in front of the office building up front. right there. We have a bay door there that we don't have access to, so now you're talking about a retention pond right there in front of it all, you
Just have to
know?
flip flop this.
Yeah, or yeah, scoot that over and flip it, yeah.
Smear everything over on that south side.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Do you guys see any issues with like what we're proposing on doing there, or?
As far as planning goes, it's an approved use in the manufacturing zone or manufacturing product.
Yeah,
And it's fully enclosed in a
yeah,
building.
well, we have fencing that will be put up and,
Yeah, everything, all manufacturing does fall inside the building.
Yeah.
We would have some outside storage, and I think it's not zoned particularly for that, so it sounds like if you put a fence up, that you'd be
It has to
okay.
be screened,
Yeah.
as long as it's storage related to the use of
yeah.
the manufacturing.
Yeah, want it for security and privacy anyways too,
Yeah.
so.
So on HHI, how far over does that property come? I mean, is everything buildable on that side?
HHI owns the property all the way over to 750, is that
So
what you're asking?
HHI owns, other than this little square, they own all of this. And back up into here and all of this.
Okay. And that big water basin,
Pond,
that pond, I mean,
That's all the HHS comes down, ties over into West Harrisville.
oh, it does. So any reason why they would not want to take the water?
They have expressed interest of expanding here in the near future. To what that extent is and how much it comes into here, I don't know. So again, that's something, private to private. The city won't get involved until you get these.
I would think that they would develop, was that north of where they currently are, because they couldn't go into the detention pond for.
No,
expansion.
but what they're doing, so our property's right here, right? And we're putting that road through. And then they're gonna start coming this way. They've discussed with Western about piping the whole canal in and doing roads over the canal, and then figuring out what to do with the ponds. Essentially, these ponds were old settling ponds for the brickyard. And now that the brickyard's gone, they're looking at, well, what can we do? How can we?
So adding to that water would not, adding to the size of that's probably not something they're gonna be excited about.
It's already bigger
across
than-
the law.
I was gonna say, the amount of water you'd be putting in though would be
It's
pretty
so minimal, but
compared to the.
Compared to what they're doing with right now.
Yeah.
So if we were to get the storage unit to agree to take the water, then you're saying we might have to go to the canal and get permission there?
no.
No, we wouldn't. So if
No.
we can get into that,
Because, again, they've already given permission for that outlet. Right.
okay.
So, that, you're okay there, but where,
So you just need to get approved from them to tie into
approval
that,
from
right?
them,
On the slope.
and then make sure that the engineer's out right.
It will
And-
actually flow to that point, right?
Yeah, it'll flow to that point, and then it actually flows out to that point.
Could we pump it to that point?
If that's a scenario you guys wanna do on a privatized system, I don't.
Right.
It'll all be private.
Okay.
So no matter what you do.
As long as the water's getting there, right?
Yeah, as long as there's a way for the water to outfall. Again, nobody wants a stagnated, smelly, mosquito infested
I hate mosquitoes.
worst retention pond right here.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing. And in this soil, water does not go in.
It just
I mean,
sits.
you guys,
I live in Far West, it's the same way.
yeah, but you guys, I'm sure drove by this when
Oh,
it's
yeah,
been wet.
we
and
walked
it's-
it and, yeah, it just sits on top.
So I'm kind of new to this. How do I track down the owner of the storage company? Do you guys have that information?
It's public on the, we don't have a phone number, so the only access we have is through the counties.
I just have to go
So you just
so-
look at the parcel. This is the contact information.
I don't
Okay.
remember. Yeah. Go knock on the door.
Yeah.
There's like 3 Wildcat storage units, isn't there?
Yeah.
And numbers posted all over them.
It's all owned by the same person.
I'm imagining that they would have a phone number available if you,
Yeah.
you've got
You do?
somebody that knows the owner
Okay.
here, so. However you
Say
can,
no.
You know.
Oh.
however
Do
you
they
can
have?
figure that
Do they have
out.
someone that lives on site?
I don't know if they have,
I think they do
So
on
this
that
would be
one.
all private, done,
I'm not sure.
yeah, handled between us and contracts between us and
Yeah.
I guess as long as we solve that water issue, you guys are good.
Are there any other utility issues that we should discuss at this
Sewers
point?
across the street.
We have sewer on the east side of the street. It's fairly deep right there.
Yeah, that sewer won't be an issue.
It's a 15 or 18 inch.
Water, you'll have to get Bonavista. Vista. I don't know what size of connection, I don't know if your manufacturing process uses water more than just bathrooms,
No, we're just bathrooms.
Got a pen?
so,
Yeah.
yeah, all that stuff will be, Bonavista. Vista, they couldn't make it today, but
Right there. 801.
1-inch service.
668.
It said on the listing that everything was available.
Yes, everything's
probably
available,
stuff.
yes. Yeah, it's not stuck,
Carry.
they're all,
Carry.
Is power overhead or?
yes,
Thank you.
everything else is not. Opposite side of the road, so you do.
Gas and everything's over
Gas should be on that side,
on the west side?
yeah. I'm trying to remember, because this little HOA, right here, this end unit decided they wanted to do their own utilities, so they tie on the sewer and water. And they were both over here across
On
the
the east
street.
side.
Yeah, everything's on the east side, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
But it sounds like
But
gas
it's,
might be on the west side.
I mean, sewer's 15-inch concrete pipe. So, and then, yeah, get with Bonavista on water. What about, as far as landscaping, you guys can have any type of,
Just minimal landscaping in the front.
Just in front of
Yeah.
the building
Yeah,
there,
just
just
from
some
the building,
bushes and
just some
whatnot.
bushes, and we're trying to stay away from the
there's
grass.
no pine view in this area, right?
Nope.
Yeah, no,
So-
we're trying to keep it
It'll
an
be
asphalt
all-
parking
yeah,
lot.
it'll
You'd
be
have
all
to,
hardscape.
you'd have to
So,
submit your landscape plan to Bonavista and see if they'll allow you for the minimal trees, bush,
Because we do have this is manufacturing zone, but we do have landscape requirements, minimum landscape
But we can have
requirements.
planning commission
yeah. We-
do a xeriscape.
Prefer a zero scape.
yeah, just
So-
for maintenance purposes,
And the xeriscape is supposed to include some
Has
plants.
some
Yeah,
plants.
yeah, it'll be
But you'll
plants.
just need to
So
get
if we had like a
permission.
planter bed along the front of the office building there, below the windows or something, is that?
Yeah, you can't just have gravel. You
Right.
have to
Yeah,
actually
yeah, we were
put
planning on
some
putting
shrubbery
like
in it.
shrubs,
With
yeah.
some drip lines or something. like
Yeah,
that.
that's
So
what I'm thinking, just some drip lines with some box
Yeah.
waters,
You'll
And-
have to get permission from
From
Bonavista,
Bonavista.
so you have to show them, hey, this is our estimated
water
amount
usage.
of outdoor use,
Yeah.
because they tried to make the rule that, hey, they won't allow any outdoor watering with their
Yeah.
if their culinary system, but they have allowed some places that don't have any other options if they do a xeriscape plan and show that it's
Minimum water.
minimal
Shane will
amount of
just go out
water.
there every day with his watering can,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Get some rain barrels out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes, you do have water, so.
Yeah.
What is the manufacturing that's gonna happen in there?
So we do carports for multifamily.
Okay.
So we do light assembly and welding.
Yeah, it's just prefab stuff that we ship
So-
out the side, so tube and I-beam.
What's the size of that building?
Right, I have it listed as 50 by 100, but actually it's 50 by 150, or 50 by, 50 by 150, sorry.
So it's yeah. So you probably are. You probably have no plans of fire sprinklers then.
So,
Doesn't sound like it. It's an S1. No, it's an M. What would it be? An M?
Yeah, it's
M1.
M1.
I think you can.
No, it's not an M1.
Is that
It's-
back building gonna be connected?
no, they're basically set, it's two buildings, but it's kind of one building in a way because they're built up to each other, but we try to keep it, there's a wall between it because of welding, so we don't want it inside the office.
Okay, so you're
So-
you're gonna have a fire separation between those two units.
Right here, yeah.
Two-unit buildings. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
And
there's
then that back is just a
like a storage building in the
Okay.
back.
Okay.
So
Where's the nearest fire hydrant?
I was looking, I think it's to the north a little bit, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's,
Do you have
it's up by Wild.
I think it might just be in between, is it between Montgomery and those guys right there?
Yeah, somewhere.
I don't know if it shows it on GeoGizmo.
So I was just looking up the Wildcat storage plans.
I thought there was one in front of that building.
There might, I know there's, no-
To the
yeah,
south.
I've seen a few of them coming down the road. What's
Yeah.
the
very
the distance between them?
500
feet, right?
500?
Yeah.
So I think we sit between two of them.
Yeah, I think there's one right just to the north of Saunders, and then there's one down the way by that building right there, 1589,
Okay.
somewhere right there, I think.
And then is it open? I heard you say fence. You're gonna have the back part fenced and then the front.
We're gonna have the
like-
whole lot pretty much fenced in.
Okay.
It'll be a gate system from the office over here, so we can access through here, and then we'll just fence along the property here. So the
Okay.
fence will sit back probably even with this upper building here. This front area will just be parking, pull-in area.
Not positive on this, but I know our fire marshal will probably want to have some sort of
Hydrants on the
access there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're proposing probably, well, right now we're proposing 50 feet from street to our building, but we might be pushing this back farther, just a
Okay.
little bit more. Because we do get semi trucks that come in, so we're trying to allow room for obviously them to come in and swing in too. So we got plenty of room to work with on the lot, with the size of our building,
Yeah,
everything.
we're currently on a 1 acre lot right now over in Ogden, and it's more than sufficient for what we do. Getting trucks in, and it's kind of the same setup. The front of the building is, well, I think we're at 80-foot setback there. It works great.
So is this an expansion
This is,
or relocation?
Yeah, it's relocation, yeah. We're renting right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Expansion end, but,
We've got the plans from the storage units if you need. I mean, we can't verify that they were built exactly like this. I don't think these are as-built, but they were the approved plans. So it looks like that inlet box is a little over 3 feet deep to the invert, from the top of the grate to the
3 feet.
3 feet.
yeah.
Jeez, it's not very much.
That
no,
might be the high point.
I'm just wondering,
Right, because
that's
it's all
also,
falling back.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering, if I remember right, they're kind of set down in and in a waterway. So
Yeah,
that may
that's
give
what
you
it looks like.
a few inches.
Yeah. Or maybe you can pump from your
Yeah.
site.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we're gonna probably have to, because the elevation change between, I mean, it just keeps diving down as far as you go south. Everything just keeps getting lower and lower. So,
Square
We'd be
footage
excited
wise,
about the
everything
new
we're good?
project in this area though. How we
Yeah.
clean up this area
No,
significantly. so
yeah, I think we'd love to see something.
It's a good fit for our manufacturing zone.
I agree.
yeah, so do we.
Plus, we work with HHI on some projects, so
There you go. You might have a
Close proximity.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a steel building?
Yeah,
steel
it's a
building.
steel
Yeah,
building
everything
on
is
a
all steel
foundation.
building, Yeah.
Okay. And then is the entire warehouse area heated?
We don't know yet if it's.
Can't decide.
or not.
The office space will be heated and cooled.
Yeah.
The shop space, we don't know. But it'll be like on a 1 foot stem wall, foundation wall steel
Definitely
building.
won't be cooled.
Yeah.
Might be heated.
And you'll probably have just basic power to that back building?
Yeah, it's that building right there is just basically just kind of a storage building. Yeah, just maybe some electrical. That's it. So,
Might even just pull one out or something.
yeah.
Yeah, but you've got just a heads up on that building. Watch what you're
This one
doing
right
in
here.
it because it could make you have to do emergency lighting in it. If it's just a building for just
It's just gonna be storage.
I'm thinking about storage.
There you go.
That would,
You might want to have fire sprinklers in there then. 'Cause boats are expensive.
Any setbacks? We good? We have setbacks because we have 10 feet from the property line on the north.
Needs fire code, but
That was on the right one.
So are you,
For ya.
does the building requiring a firing sprinkler system then?
I don't. Not on
Okay.
square footage. And
Okay.
what your use is, unless you start introducing some
So
chemicals that I'm not aware of.
NP building
Oh,
has to
yeah.
be 30 feet from the front setback.
So from the road? Is 30?
Yeah, we're good
Yeah,
there.
we got
Yeah,
plenty.
we got 50 there, don't we?
So your building setbacks are your,
Rear 10.
But as you guys said, you know, if you get a 53-foot long semi truck and trailer, you don't want you hanging out in the road if the gate's closed. And
No, that's why I'm
Yeah.
thinking we're gonna push that building back more to the west.
Right now in our shop, they park along right here.
right.
Yeah.
And we actually load and kind of unload right there. Or
So
they
our,
pull in
our
here.
drive lane's probably gonna be all open. It's where they can just kind of swing in and
Yeah.
go
Get
right
off
back
the road.
out.
Yeah,
So-
perfect. And that's
Yeah.
fine. I just, you know, sometimes if you got that gate right there and they pull
No,
straight
our,
in,
our
you
gate's
get
gonna be
around the
actually
back,
farther
yeah.
back too, so there's
Okay.
gonna be plenty of
Perfect.
room.
I drive that road every day. It's already narrow as is.
Yes,
So.
that was my only concern. And we are, just a heads up, I mean, we're still 2030, but we are going to do a major overhaul of that entire road. So
When's
we're
that
just
proposing to be?
2030.
Oh, 2030.
We're waiting on federal funding to come through. So
Widening it or what?
widening it, curb gutter, sidewalk, storm drain, the whole
All of it.
upgrade, any utilities that
So
need to
wait
be
till,
upgraded.
until then to tie in our swing.
Well, another development along there, we haven't required frontage improvements,
No,
I guess.
and I'm not asking them for frontage improvements.
Right, I mean,
I'm just
typically-
saying, I'm just
typically-
saying, so they're set back, they know, you know, if
We
we
have
come
enough room
in
for future.
and take another
Right.
5 feet or
So
so.
I'm just saying, typically we would
Require
require
Yeah.
frontage improvements, you know, curb gutter, sidewalk widening.
Yeah, right now everybody's just running off the road and
Yep.
sloping down.
But it doesn't, it's hard because we try to, right, like we want development to try to pay their way, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Right here.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we just need to figure out the water issue and everything else.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Any
sure
other-
appreciate your time.
Yeah.
sure, any other
Thanks.
questions for our team?
No.
Okay,
That's
No.
pretty much
we look
it.
forward to hearing from you.
Okay.
Alright. Oh, I do have a question. Like, what's your, like, permitting process right now? How far out are you? Is this like a 2-month, 3-month?
Well, it does require planning commission approval, so we'll get a solid site plan application
Yeah,
from you, and we'll make sure that we review that in this team, and then we'll recommend it for planning commission approval. You'll
And
need
then-
all of your service letters, you'll need all of your, any agreements, access
What,
agreements.
what's all the drawings that you're gonna require us to have? I
It's
know
all
it's
here in the
different
code,
from-
in this
is it?
code,
Okay.
11.22.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you want to review that, and make sure that you've got everything met for that. That's our
Perfect.
site plan
Okay.
approval.
And then on your building side, you'll just need
Yeah, well, all our
architectural,
structural.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we have an online permitting for building portal,
Okay.
once you get your approval through.
Yeah, when
planning
you
commission.
when you have land use, sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
When you have land use approval, then the turnaround is 2 to 3 weeks, unless there's major issues with your drawings.
Okay, great.
So
Pretty fast.
And it just goes to planning commission,
Correct.
the site plan, it
There's
doesn't go
no,
to.
no city council approval. 15 days before the date of the meeting that you want to be heard, seen, you have to have your complete
And when
application.
are those meetings typically?
The second Wednesday of the month is when we hold planning commission.
Okay.
And it kind of depends too, like if we get our, you know, if I get the site plan drawings and there's a lot of back and forth, that might take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Like when it goes to planning commission, if we're going for final, it's probably small enough, we don't need to do preliminary.
Yeah.
So we're going to final, they're gonna wanna see a clean memo from me, so they don't wanna approve it with a whole list of conditions that
Yeah,
need to
for
be
sure.
fixed still.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I apply for all of our permits for our stuff, so I'm familiar with all that.
Yeah, the
So,
cleaner it is,
yeah,
the easier and
exactly.
faster it goes
Yep,
through.
for sure.
Well, we walk the property. Anything's going to look better than what it is right now, right?
We agree.
lots of problems there.
Okay.
All right. Hey, thank
All right,
so
thank
much.
you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We didn't, cause like with Montgomery, we didn't make.
Come on up.
We haven't made, we didn't even do like, frontage.
Because I don't know
online meeting.
Has he been sitting here waiting to, we do have an online meeting available. Does he have the link?
I don't know if he does or not.
It's right on our agenda.
Okay. Oh, he said he's 5 minutes away. He decided to get in the
Oh,
car.
okay. Well, we'll
Okay.
just barely get started then, and then we'll let him join us.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. We're at the right, is this the plat?
That's the plat. Yep.
Okay. So did our team have time to
I looked
review this?
through.
And there were just a couple of sheets.
Yeah, I didn't get through all 44 yet. But I just kind of look at the overall stuff. So let's. I guess to bring us all up to speed, I'm trying to. So the amendment to the MDA
It's
has already
approved.
been approved.
Yes.
Okay. And that amendment included, I guess, some of the changes with the density and some. I'm trying to remember what else was on there.
The density, and they relocated this basin,
Right.
and they,
The building sizes.
the building
changed.
sizes.
That's right. So you had all that on the.
Mhm.
Okay. Basically, it was kind of updating the concept plan
Yeah.
because it
Yeah,
changed
because we
enough.
changed hands
Right.
from
Right.
the,
Okay.
who the builder would be. Yeah. But the basic layout of the project didn't shift or change. We are pushing Bona Vista Water to not make us do a private system with a master meter. So we hopefully will have some information from them on Friday about that. So, and we did have a question on the storm drain. We do have some large storm drain, and it all goes back into that main little area. It runs through the roads. It's pretty much a city system, but it is in a private street. Would the city accept it as a public system to the point where it gets to the basins and to that underground detention, as far as the piping and the inlets?
Well, the piping, I would think so all the piping in that 1300 north
It's
would be
It's public, yeah,
correct?
yeah.
You're talking back in the private area.
I'm talking down till 1275 when you get to like Sheets.
Searched out that. Do they
The
got roof?
500
Are they
series.
trying to catch the roof drains? Are they trying to?
I'm assuming roof drains probably turn into.
Our roof drains will come forward and they'll daylight and drain down the private streets, which would then hit the catch basins.
Yeah. We haven't in these. Well, I let Justin speak to it, but in these private areas, we haven't typically taken over ownership of any of the storm drain. The basin, I guess, maybe could be up for debate.
That was one of my questions. Was every city's a little bit different. Some of them, like at the box is where it terminates, and I just have to mow and maintain
Yeah.
inside. Question is
Essentially,
the
with what we're trying to do, and Pineview can speak to this also, is we're trying to conserve water. These smaller basins, we're trying to go away from grass and sprinklers to just a
So
rock
are we.
basin.
We will definitely plan on
A cobble rock
cobble.
basin.
Yes.
Cobble?
Let's make sure that's very
No.
clear right now.
Now,
We use a 3 to
unless
4 inch.
Yeah, I
Cobble.
guess unless these are like as part of the development, if they're considered part of like green open space.
Yes.
Because like if these basins on the west
But-
side were considered to be like an open space,
At
but
that
then
point-
at that point it would be maintained by the HOA.
Yes,
and
but at
grass
that
and
point-
sprinklers.
We would want to see that
Is
there
it
was
considered open space? Because that was one of my questions
That's
with
what I
Jen.
can't-
we would
was
want. I don't.
There wasn't really a
Definition, was
clear
it on your,
open space definition as to how much I
think
have to
there was
maintain.
so
it.
much
there's so much in the
given.
park that we
Right.
weren't
We weren't-
requiring
yeah.
any in these.
Because I would love those basins to be yours.
Right.
And I'll just take the underground because I know you guys don't want it.
Well, and it's not that we don't want it. It's just hard on a private.
The underground though
Yeah.
is pretty much only taking the private streets.
Correct.
Like these other two basins are taking the road and the private area. So they're mixing both of them, but the underground, I wouldn't think the city would take ownership of.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that the amendment when we talked about amenities had nothing to do with the basins.
Yeah,
And,
no.
and to this is if we have dedicated open green space for a basin, we're probably gonna make the developer put in some sort of amenity towards that. A little playground, a little
We
place
are planning
that
on
they
those kinds
fenced
of
off for
things.
dog park. We haven't asked for that on this.
Right.
So
We're
I
willing to
think
make
if
the
we,
compromise though to get
no,
you to take
what
those
I'm,
spaces.
what I'm thinking, that's what I'm saying though. I don't think that's what added to your open space.
Fairly
Yeah.
large.
Green open space. So I think if we do a rock and no other,
Mm-hmm.
verify a weed fabric and rock, then the city would be okay to take that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just
Especially where it's off the main road, you
Sure.
can get me an
You can
access gate
them, yeah.
right
I
off
think
the
it comes
public
down
road.
to. Sorry,
No.
sorry, Dr. Bree. I think it comes down to whether it would be a good maybe amenity for the development, because you do look at this area that's you've got the park, I guess, right? The eventual park to the north, which is a huge green space, which would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But like right here, close to all these townhomes, where there's maybe not a ton of grass area, do they want it as an amenity for like a grass area?
They have,
someone to
but
run
they
around?
have other areas that are
It's kind of
identified.
one of the other
in
sheets
the-
you can see.
Because if it's not going to be used,
project
then
list,
sure,
yeah.
rock it and the city can access it. Okay. It's just they're fairly the one, two on the south side road looks like it's fairly
Keep going.
large.
So
Into
that's
the-
the
oh,
end
that's
of
just the
plat.
plats, yeah.
So this is the phase. It might show it on this one. It'll take a second to load. These are large files, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we have this open space here,
Mm-hmm. And then we have the
And then
second one over.
this one here.
Mm-hmm. And then there's across the street. There is more grassy in that purple section
In
there.
this area.
Mm-hmm.
So have you been in touch with our assessment clerk? Because I don't believe there's water on that.
I haven't. We do have because this was previously approved through you guys. So we do have a service
We have a
service
well
letter, a well serve letter from Pineview.
So there is a well serve. So there,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, you'll want to contact her, make sure.
I think they were gonna have to pull off that lower road and come up.
Well, we have a line on 1300,
Yeah.
so we'll have to extend that line, but we won't run down those private streets. So
Yeah,
it'll
no, we're
just-
planning on a couple of common, maybe 2-inch meters for our landscape.
It depends on your green space, so we'll need a green
Okay.
space drawings. Then I'll calculate and then figure out how many and where to put them.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't believe there was water on that I recall, but yeah, so you'll want to check on that and
Okay.
get a current will serve that's updated.
I can pull it up.
It could say will serve if you find water, they say a lot of different things, those will serves. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it says, I got it here. It's probably the typical, if you bring, it
Yeah.
says, yeah, this is the typical, we have reviewed the plans for the Harrisville Park project. This property is not currently part of the secondary water district. The owner of this property will need to complete inclusion requirements and provide water shares to bring the property into the water district.
Yeah,
We
so
will
there is no
service
water
this-
on them.
We will
so-
service this development after the inclusion requirements have been met.
Thank you.
So hopefully you got some water shares or something done.
We have a lot of shares. We've got
Got been
ample
told we
shares.
have 'em.
And I thought we already did, well, anyway. But,
Yeah, and if something's been done, we would have record of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
I think we went through all that with them, so I'm.
Yeah, I remember looking it up not too long ago, and it still showed that there was no water on it. So, but yeah, we'll extend. We have a 6-inch main. We'll extend down the street, down 1300, and then put a couple of
Is
service
that what we're
connections off
doing,
that.
6-inch? A 6-inch secondary water?
No, we're just showing a line there. We had been told that Pineview Water will design that.
Yeah, which I will.
Okay.
And hands off is what we were told, so it's just
Well, you
showing us there.
can throw it on there, and then I just change it to, you know, whatever, how I valve it and stuff different than.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
once
that's
once
something
you
that you guys install, not our
no we
contractor?
just submit the drawings back, redline them, and get a parts list, and it really makes it easier on the contractor because he knows the parts and stuff. So
Okay.
so once you get a approved drawing, and then I will take it from there and
Okay.
put our lines on it and send it back. But yeah, you have to go through the steps for making sure there's water on it and all that. Through our assessment clerk. Her name's Brooke Harris.
Okay. Okay.
And with that, you don't even need me.
Thanks, Doug.
See you later.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like we would be open to taking those basins.
Just the one basin.
There's one on both
Oh, there's
sides.
one on both
Oh,
sides.
one on both sides, sorry. Yeah, yes.
So this would remain
Those,
private.
yeah,
This would
yeah.
be
The underground would all
dedicated to
be
the city.
privatized. Anything within the right of way of outside of 1300 North Street would be privatized. Anything attaching and piping down 1300 North would be city owned.
The way we get this working is that public drainage goes into those ponds and does not go into the underground, so I think
Right.
that's great.
But our underground does go out and discharge into detention basin number 1. That
Yeah.
little one right over there.
Oh, right. So after going through the underground, it then ties into pond one.
Yeah,
And I'm
But
imagining
it's coming
there's
out
a
at
cleaner.
a detained rate.
it's
there-
attained
do
from
they
that
have to
underground
pipe cleaner?
detention pond. Yeah, it's not a,
The updated NDA show those as their landscaping.
The ponds,
Yeah.
it does show that the concept plan does include the ponds, yes.
It doesn't show really any landscape. It's just kind
That's
of
what I-
generic
Yeah,
with some trees.
oh, no, it
Yeah.
didn't show that they were amenities.
and I don't,
Okay.
even at that, I think we wouldn't want trees.
In
Oh
the
yeah.
detention
No,
pond.
the
Yeah.
trees were along the
We've had
street.
that
Yeah.
before.
Oh, right.
So
So,
No,
yeah,
I-
just pretty straight.
Like I said, it just comes down
Oh.
to me of whether they're kind of dual purpose. Like if they're supposed to provide an amenity, then
Right.
because I'm not opposed to, right, if they're maintained by them and it's a grass area
Yeah, yeah.
that they
people
want.
don't see them as
Right.
amenities anymore. They
No,
used to,
they don't.
but they don't.
Well,
anymore.
and Doug,
because of the water-wise stuff that we
and
do on them.
Doug didn't really go into it, but they really, a lot of our smaller basins like this, they're not even allowing Pineview water access to those anymore.
Oh,
If it's
so
not
we
a
couldn't
park,
irrigate
right.
them.
Can't even irrigate.
The
If
fact
it's
that
a
it's
park,
so
then
close
that's
to the
different.
large park.
Okay.
Has Ryan seen this?
Activity there.
Yeah. Parker?
Mm,
Yeah.
he's good with all the distances. Okay.
I had
City
some.
Because even those,
It's not real long, so.
they're essentially just driveways.
Yeah.
Just
We sent the updated concept plan to Northview Fire.
I have not, but we can do that.
Yeah, he was supposed to be at this meeting, but I think he ran into a conflict, so.
And who do I contact?
Ryan Barker at Northview Fire. Just make sure that he of course reviewed the first concept plan and nothing street length changed, if I remember right, did it? As far as the length,
I don't think so.
the
Right.
stubs.
We
on the
might, because they
west
had
side.
4 plexes on that lower south side. We tried to keep it, I'll check. 150
But
feet
you-
is our limit.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we're trying
from-
to stay that. Yeah.
From an intersection to a dead end, so
So,
I think that last intersection, I think you're pretty,
I was gonna say, I think we
It's-
should be pretty safe. We've done this
yeah.
Yeah.
in several occasions, so
Because everything else you can make a turn
turn and go.
and I don't necessarily know even if there is a fire that, well, depending on it, if it was in one of the last units, they turned down, but
So one of our questions too is, as far as use separation, because we're residential and then we have the E.K. Bailey site right next to there, are there any fencing requirements?
Screening requirements between residential and commercial.
Okay, and what is that?
They are listed in our, let me find the code for you. So 11.13.050 are the, whenever commercial abuts a property in the residential zone. So we offer a different variety of options there.
Okay.
So anything
Essentially a 6 foot tall fence that's
meets the
Six
solid.
that's not
So as long as
see-through.
it's solid, okay.
Uh-huh, has
It
to be
doesn't have to be
solid.
like precast or any of
No.
that? Okay,
Not required.
okay. Okay. Okay, and that would just be between, on that south and that southern edge between us and the E.K. Bailey site?
The furthest point of the adjacent residential lot, outdoor storage, not visible when viewed out standing on the ground, so it might be taller than 6 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a minimum height of 6 feet. So some areas it might be taller than that.
Sorry, so this is where it abuts.
Right,
AKB,
that way, and
correct?
that, mhm.
Yeah, and
Mhm. And then that's vacant land, and then we have the.
So essentially, what
So this
it's saying that
entire
that
section.
entire section could be 8 feet tall, so that if somebody was standing on the ground, they can't see
Okay.
the
Well, I just won't bring my son, and then we won't have a
Right, exactly.
As I can't see it.
And there shouldn't be anything here because it'll
Yeah.
prop
Yeah.
the park, and the commercial parcel's distanced enough that I'm sure there's not going to be any fencing requirement on any of the rest.
Okay.
So that.
But you
section
would
for
want
sure.
an 8 foot, not 6 foot,
Well,
because there's some interpretation there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it needs
just-
to be tall enough that any outdoor storage is not visible when standing on the ground.
And that's more on the commercial side.
It doesn't
than the
say an average height
residential,
of a
but-
5'6"
Right,
person.
right,
either.
right.
Right.
So,
It-
right.
it's-
'Cause we
there's-
put the same
it's
thing
so-
in our CC&Rs, and so the question's always debatable.
Mhm.
Is 6 feet enough? Right. Well, but if your house is up here and you're looking down
But it says
from a second story,
the-
you're not
from
going to
the
see
ground.
from the
From the
ground.
ground.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
usually.
So obviously the people in the second story and third story are going to be able to look over.
Right, right.
But they
And
know that, right? Because they're
if
buying
they're
that
storing
unit.
vehicles that are, less than 6 feet tall, because you can't control that, right? There could be a day they bring in a semi truck and it's going to be 12 feet off the ground.
Who, E.K. Bailey? No.
Or,
Not every day of their
That's 30 feet.
right,
not every day of their life.
right. So that's the question. We prefer a
Yeah.
6 foot fence just because of wind and all of that kind of stuff. It's easy
I think
to,
if you did a solid 6 foot,
okay.
I mean,
We'll propose that and you guys can think on it.
again, we've talked that there might be future plans.
That's the intent. Is he's
You
already
know-
bought.
you know.
He's already bought the land
Right.
and is waiting for
Right.
the
His
gals
other
to-
buildings and
to
everything,
pass,
and I
and then
forget.
his intent is to move that, and
Right.
that becomes an extension of this.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'd love to extend.
So that might not be a long
Yeah.
standing issue that we have to address.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have any questions, Leland?
I had a few, and this one, so it changed a little bit, so Leland, you remember you made that change last year with keeping it more, the road, keeping it tangent for at least that 100 feet before you start that curve.
Uh-huh.
Which is good, but it did bring your layout, and I can't remember if we talked about this, that private street.
Talking about
And
this
it is a private street, so I'm just wondering about the distance to that intersection.
It's
Yeah.
100 feet
It's 100 from right there out to,
out to the
Washington.
right-of-way line on Washington rather than to the intersection.
right. I don't know that because our code addresses public streets, and we want more separation than that on public. Right. I'd have to look into that a little more. I don't know if you guys feel like that'll be a concern or not.
Only thing we could other do is maybe make it a no left right there, but then people would have to track down to get a left in. If you're worried about the stacking, because that's the only place I see them stacking.
Well, right.
I mean,
they turn.
maybe going right.
Is it wide enough to put a middle turn?
The problem, because I guess the issue is if you turn into the development, right, and then you want to turn down into that street, but there's cars
That's
in the way.
where you're gonna
Past
stack.
the intersection.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's cars in the way there, then does that
Yeah.
back up?
Let me just point out, this line right there is our UDOT required stacking, and you can get into it from here going right. And you can turn left past the double
past
yellow.
that stacking
Yeah.
area, so it might be okay. I'm trying. Did your
The traffic report.
yeah?
make
Did the
any
traffic report?
recommendations?
That's what I was wondering.
Because we haven't changed that intersection, and we've
That's
left
based
that
on the
where it
traffic
was.
report was approved.
Right. The traffic report was probably based on the concept from before we. It hasn't changed too much, but before the road kind of that 375 east, it curved over and kind of came in. I mean I like it coming in straight like that, rather than on the curve.
I wonder how many
before.
residents are gonna find out that it's actually easier to access off 1100 than it is
They'll
Washington.
adapt.
Yeah. Right. Well, that was just one thing to bring up. Just my first initial.
Yeah, 'cause
Looks
what's
right.
that? 200.
Yeah, I think it's 200 on our public streets.
Let me point out, this is fewer units than the original traffic
Right.
study.
Right.
And what that intersection is shown per the traffic study's recommendations, and UDOT accepted it, so.
And that's a 60-foot right away on the.
Yeah.
On the 1300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, Justin, we had talked with Krisel a little bit about whether to keep the park strip or just bring the sidewalk up against the back of the
Thought
curb.
we had made that executive decision. We didn't want pug strip.
And I forgot to communicate that to him. So
No park strip on
1300.
Oh, wow.
That'll put our gas line in 1300 underneath the sidewalk. Is that going to be a problem?
Well, if we move the
Well-
sidewalk forward,
Well, we moved, but
Put it behind.
it spans out to 6-foot walk.
okay.
Right, but you still have a few feet.
We
So
still-
if you keep a 60
So
foot
the
right of way,
setbacks
you
aren't
still have a few
changing.
feet.
We're just eliminating the park strip.
We have 3.5 feet then to the
Yeah.
right-of-way line, and then we've got 10 feet behind that,
Right,
so we can
PH.
fit both gas and electrical behind the walk.
Right, that's what I would hope.
So we're doing 6-foot sidewalk, no park strip on 1300. And I did make this note before.
We just, after we went through the landscape plan and everything and the trees and everything, it causes too much problems with our sidewalk and curb and gutter with
Well, you'd
All the
either
time.
need to go right. You'd either need a bigger park strip to have trees in it, or just bring it to the front and have your trees
Yeah.
back behind the sidewalk. And then just on the plat, just make sure we include those PUEs. Or do you have it listed as like all the common areas?
All common
considered
area and
PUE?
limited we'll and that was one of my notes. We need to list that limited common area and common area are public easement, utility easements.
All right, just put public and we changed to public and municipal utility easement.
Okay.
Because there's a little bit of gray area as far as what on the public utility easement.
We normally too ask that it would read something like the limited common area and common area are a drainage and public utility easement for municipalities and
That's great because
Okay.
sometimes when you put just PUE, people interpret that when you look at the state code as only being allowed for like communication power and not allowing some municipal utilities or drainage.
okay.
So public and municipal utility easement is the,
I have some language on another plat
Like a
we've used. I
PUE
can
or
send you.
MUE. /MUD or
We have one that we use in Saratoga Springs that's the same way.
whatever. Okay.
They
And
share
then,
the same concern.
Leland, I need to get you addresses for the lots, right? I don't think we've
Yes.
done that yet.
And are you okay with the addresses I put on the streets?
We'll double check. It looks, I'm guessing we will be, but we'll double check.
Do you guys require a building number?
For fire,
Not, are they just,
They're just individual units that'll be addressed. I just noticed, and it's probably the way they standardly do it. We do give a building number, but we don't ever record it. We use a system that is coded for our D.R. Horton methods. So that was one of my questions was, are these required? Or can we
It's not
just...
required, but I'm wondering if
That
that
might
would
be a
be
fire
helpful,
It's-
though,
it's
for
nice,
emergency
but-
response sometimes, though. It might be
It's helpful for any delivery
Yeah,
to have a number.
Well, but it won't be part of their address. Their address will be
Right.
individual on each
350,
unit?
whatever, 375 each. So they'll never see the building number.
Also, and I haven't delved into the detail that I probably should have on the plans. Are you doing community mailboxes?
Aren't they required? Yes.
Yeah, they usually are. Where
Yeah.
where do we have those?
We haven't placed them
Okay,
yet. I
and
need to
then
meet with the postmaster.
We also
and
need
see.
to. We've had an issue with one of our other developments that they're not making them ADA accessible.
Oh, okay.
So we need to look into whatever we can do to make those also ADA accessible.
And we want to make sure that they're reasonably stacked in number-wise, so that I have heard that in some areas they've wanted them all in one location for a massive development, and that doesn't make sense to me to have 500 people trying to get their mail from the same
No,
box.
because they all pull up and then they block the road. Right?
Exactly.
They
So
don't stop there.
maybe
distributed evenly.
If we can get the post office to come in on our private streets, we'd prefer to have them back in here as delivery and not
Yeah.
on 1300. So we'll have that discussion.
okay. That was something new I hadn't heard of, but another development was talking about south of here that they were requiring, and it was a massive development. It was hundreds of units. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a window of time
Yeah.
each day that you're allowed to go check your mail.
Typically, we'd prefer to see them at our common areas where we've got parking.
Sure.
Yes.
So
Be ideal.
that's what we'll push
These,
towards.
these are individual parcel, each one?
Yes.
Okay. So you just heads up, I always have to remind people, I don't know why, but because it's been in the state code for a few years now, that utilities can't penetrate firewalls unless
Yes.
there's an agreement with maintenance.
Yep. No,
So-
we're well aware of that.
Yeah,
In
I
fact,
think
I
we
ran
had
into
that
somebody that
discussion.
was still doing that, and I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So we should be good on that.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Scott, where are we at with? Oh, sorry, Brandon.
No, go ahead.
With the Clomar, or whether that's going through or not, or
We've got, they've been reworking it. She's resubmitting actually, what could be tomorrow. But I'll get you an updated on that. They've gone back and they feel pretty good about, they were able to get everything from Ogden City and the plat, and they provided the letter, which was big. That was a difficult process. They ended up getting that for her. And they've kind of reworked everything, and they feel pretty good about where we're at. So she's resubmitting.
she's not having to chase it all down through.
Not unless they come back asking for more, but we think that they've gotten everything in line to where it shouldn't raise. Hopefully they're not raising some flags on that. So
That'd be great.
we'll see how that works out. You never know.
Right. We'll have to have that. Of course, all of those other units are in phase 2, correct? We realized
Yes.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can move forward on phase 1.
Yep.
Are they taking? I'm sorry, this is a bigger picture. I know we've got phase 1, phase 2 of the townhome development. Are we showing phasing for the commercial side, or for? Are you still holding on to that, and DR Horton's only
Yeah,
taking the
we're still
residential?
holding on to that, and I think that's all part of the MDA as far as when we have back a year or something after you guys make the transition,
Yeah.
move and build your new building,
Yeah,
and
we
then
can
move out. Then we have, I think, a year to finalize and get that.
That's good. Okay.
give them some
That was
leniency
included in.
for giving us leniency.
Yeah. We have to get out of their way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
We could tear that building down, you guys won't be very happy.
Justin will find a place.
Might be Javier's hotels, but they find a
They
place.
should be open.
You still have sewer, those 30 some odd units or so, as many as you could coming out to Washington. Is that right?
On the sewer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all
I
those,
think a lot of it comes out to Washington. They stepped
Let me go back up to the.
that line
But
out.
it's whatever he could get
Yeah.
as far as elevation.
Yeah.
So it goes back to, okay, it goes back to about 350 east.
350 east is the last.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just pulled that up here.
I remember that from Calvettiville.
What, trying to get that?
Driving back from southern Utah.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's right.
we have to get this done today.
Yeah, when UDOT was doing their overlay.
Right. And they still cut through their overlay. But anyway. Huh, okay.
I think
That's
we're
good.
gonna have to cut through the overlay to tap the water.
Oh, did that not
No,
get?
they got water.
I thought they
Did they get?
I think
They got water and sewer.
They did
it
both.
both in one day.
Yeah,
they did cut to just get Dominion in. I seen that.
Oh, did they? But no, I'm pretty sure they stubbed water and sewer
They did. They
into
did.
the
Yeah.
site.
Okay.
So yeah, they stubbed water further to the north
Up
Where-
at the entrance.
at the entrance,
Yeah.
and then the sewer's actually down right on
Yep,
the
towards the property line.
corner.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I just want, like the earlier conversation, I think you've already done, we wanted to send as much as possible out to Washington.
Yes.
So we have more capacity there.
So 1300 north, I'm late to this party, so I'm 1300 north of the city street.
Mm-hmm.
You've got units on both sides of 1300 north, and parking isn't going to be an issue on 1300 north. We see it regularly, and it's becoming more and more of a problem where these developments are developed and parking. It's easier to park on the city street than it is to park in your own driveway. And in my opinion, we're creating a safety issue for people who are not only driving but who are parking on the side of the road. So, what's the guarantee that people will be parking in the driveway, and how does that get enforced?
Like
So-
city ordinance and police.
I was gonna say, does your city ordinance allow for public parking on 1300 North? Is
Only
there
at-
anything in there that would restrict us from letting
The-
For 24 hours, they can park. It has to be moved, and then through the winter months, November through April, we have no parking on city streets.
So that's kind of typical. We do in our CCNRs require that their garage remain a garage. They can't do anything to alter that, and we have the right to go in and inspect that. We haven't done that in anywhere else. Parking in these kinds of projects is an issue, but they will have a 2-car garage and a 2-car driveway.
How far back are the homes set from the
So-
1300 north?
From
20 feet?
1300,
10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet from
So
here.
are they all driving smart cars?
Well, no, that's their on 1300 is 10 feet this way.
Oh, okay.
Their driveways are
Their
fine.
driveways are this way, and they all have a minimum of an 18
Okay,
foot
so they're
driveway.
driving into.
So
and
they
then
pull
these-
into these private driveways, and then they
Lanes,
have
okay.
these are a 2-car park and a 2-car park.
Okay.
Oh, I take that back though. We do have some 1-car. So we have a single car garage in our 3 stories, but these are all 2-car
2-car.
units.
And then these are all. These are
all-
sidewalk, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
they're all
sidewalk. They're rear
loaded.
loaded, yeah. So people, if anybody's parking, it'll be more than likely people here because they have access to their front door.
Right. Which is usually what we see is people parking on the city street because they don't want to park.
Right.
Or,
You know,
Like
this
on
is-
2000, because their actual front door is facing 2000, even though they're rear loaded. These will be front door.
facing 13.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So you will have a
They're-
tendency for people to park there.
Yeah.
Those units, yeah.
And
Again,
we
that's-
don't allow parking on private streets because these private roads are only 24. So they're not allowed to park on our streets. They have to be in a stall on their driveway or in their garage, or we will tow them away. I can't tow on 1300 because it's a public road.
So ours is an enforcement. We just go by our own.
And I dealt with this, moving it just means getting in your car and moving it forward 2 feet, right? And then
It's
you're
true.
good for another 24 hours, so.
We have that
Start
issue
playing
on
that
West
game.
we have that issue on West Harrisville Road, and the townhomes are not even in our city, but we have to enforce the road
Yeah.
because the same thing happens. And we have the opposite issue at the north end of our city where we have multifamily, but the street is owned by Pleasant View, and so they have to come enforce and do the same thing for us. So
Is there any
And
additional?
we want people to behave, but sometimes
I know. It just sometimes that becomes problematic for cities, but the cities, understandable. And then as far as parking on interior overflow, that's all private, but I didn't see a lot of additional parking within the development itself. What's that?
So this is a significant improvement from our first concept plan that was
okay.
already.
We do have some additional parking
Yeah.
stalls.
The southern, to bring it to speed a little bit though, Brandon, on this section here, the original MDA had no driveways, and so they still approved it, but we knew that parking was even going to be a greater issue. And then with the amendment that we did with DR Horton, they added driveways and garages for every unit.
Okay.
So they improved what we knew was going to be an initial problem,
I think they lost some of the
Yeah.
visitor stalls, but they've added.
but they added them for
Driveways.
private units.
I wonder, would it?
But the existing parking that they had in the old one was clear far away from the western units. So realistically, to have someone park on the east side of the project and walk all the way to the west side, it made a whole lot more sense to have them in their driveways
Absolutely.
and garages.
Okay. Like I
It was
said,
just a better
I'm
product.
late to the party, so I don't
Sure.
know what has
No, we-
developed.
They're good. That's a good point though, because
Yeah.
you're right. We've all seen it in these developments where the cities, like this 1300 North, is going to get lined with cars,
Yeah.
and it kind of becomes an issue.
Yeah.
We're just going to pass a no hoarding law in Harrisville, but no one can.
You can only own cars for the number of stalls you have at your home.
Exactly. No teenage drivers. They'll keep the streets safer.
And then I just have one other question. Again, this is on private property, but I'm just curious as to how the underground storage detention basin, I've dealt with a few of those, and there's some significant maintenance that has to occur. Have you got enough room to be able to get a vac truck or equipment in there to maintain that?
Can you go to sheet C, 600? Oh, wait, this will show it, that sheet that you're on right there. Okay, you see where that is? There are 3 manholes, or 2 manholes associated with that underground, and you'll see that that sidewalk is 10 feet wide
Okay.
to be able to get a vac truck in there.
Okay.
Oh, that answers my question. I'm like, why such a wide sidewalk?
Here.
Yeah, I was wondering why it wasn't pulled up
I
here, but I
gotcha.
know why it wasn't pulled up, because you're draining out here and you want to drain it
Right,
all the
you
way
have to
out.
get it as
So
far
you
back
pushed
as
it
we
as
can.
far back as you could. So,
Because
this is a 10-foot walk here.
24-inch storm drain. Because you've got a 24-inch storm drain and then an 18-inch coming out underneath
Under
that
the sidewalk.
Yeah, right there.
And I'm going to make the assumption that that sidewalk will be poured thicker, because you will probably have.
Yeah, we're gonna call that out for 5-inch with mesh and 8 inches rod base.
Yeah, because it's essentially
It's a road.
Access, yeah, becomes a driveway basically.
Anything else,
I
Brandon?
don't have anything else. Those were my notes.
Tyler, any comments?
Are these individual garbage can?
That's what we would prefer.
Okay.
Yeah. And the question is, will the city pick up those individual garbage cans if we pull them out to the private lanes, or do we need to contract with a private?
So you'll contract, all of our HOAs contract privately. you're welcome to contract with our provider. We do waste management services through Harrisville, but we don't monitor or maintain any contracts with our HOAs
Okay.
or our commercial properties for that matter. We just do residential, single family residential.
Okay. And you said waste management is who?
Waste
the city
management
uses?
is our provider, so if they have availability or if you want to
Yeah.
start there, but not all of our HOAs are serviced by Waste Management.
Yeah.
We have Republic and other
Yeah.
providers too.
Okay.
Other comments, Tyler? Justin? Questions for our team?
Okay, so just so that I understand the billing for my HOA, if I can be successful, I don't want to say when, if I can be successful in my argument to get the individual meters for each one of my units, my residents would be receiving a bill from Bona Vista for water, city for sewer.
We contract with
We
Bona
contract
Vista
with
for
Bona
our
Vista.
sewer.
Oh, okay.
So
Sewer
it'd be
and
all
garbage.
one bill. It would
Okay,
just come
so-
from Bona Vista.
So Bona Vista.
But it would include sewer and
Stormwater,
stormwater.
sewer,
Oh,
and
okay.
water.
All the
So
city utilities that we.
now, the garbage where you private contract
Right.
would be its own separate.
Oh, that's a
Right.
good point. Yes.
Right. It comes, for me, it's an HOA separation because your HOA is a qualification on your loan.
Mhm.
So if I'm private, I will have a separate utility fee so that it doesn't disqualify somebody because they're paying their utility bills. So that's the question that I'm just trying to make sure that we know how to set up our homeowners association so that we can get as many people into houses as possible.
So we have both practiced here in Harrisville. We have master meters in some of our HOAs, and I think we had this discussion on the phone to help me not repeat myself if
Oh, you're
I've
fine.
already transferred that information. But then we have another HOA, 1600 North one, Sunset View. Those are individual water meters to each
Right,
unit.
but it's a public street.
Yeah, that is true. That is a public street.
And that's Bona Vista's kind of thing is we haven't allowed it in the past. It's our standard operating procedure. And I just said it's my job to question your standard operating procedure. Because what homeowners association should have to maintain an 8-inch water line? That's not our purview, and we don't know what we're doing. So that's kind of the argument. So we may grant a private easement to them over that roadway for the 24 inches, because that was his other 24 feet. That was their other concern, was how do they get in there to maintain it. But we've proven to them that they have just as much space with our driveways and our easements to get in there and maintain. So hopefully,
I mean, essentially,
chipping away at the surface.
you're
but-
gonna have to do the same thing because of the way the new state law came in with sewer.
Okay.
It is gonna have to have public access, because if the sewer main,
Right. So do you want a
Public
specific easement, or
utility.
is my note that says?
you know, that says the
Okay.
public utility in the
Right.
municipality.
Yeah. The specific for Bona Vista is just to give that extra level
Yeah.
of comfort, right?
This-
Make them feel like they've gotten
This-
what they need.
If you wanna
So-
specify anything, it'd be, maintenance, snow removal, all that falls on the HOA in the private
Right.
section. But, yeah, that state sewer mandate, and I'm a little, not really, because water does have a master meter, and the way the state law says, anything after the meter is residential, is the resident's responsibility, but I wouldn't be surprised if that changes soon too.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've, right, and I've seen it in a lot of other, well, you guys have seen it too. A lot of other cities, if it is an 8-inch main or whatever, they wanna own and maintain it, or they do own and maintain it, and they just have an easement over it.
Yeah,
That's,
And that's, yeah.
but.
That's what we've done in
But
Mountain.
everyone's,
that's
yeah,
100%
all
their
different.
call, not ours, so.
Right.
Right. But any support you could give us would be very welcomed. So,
I'm wondering, real quick, on the, I was just looking at like the master plan and the updated MDA. I'm just wondering so there's so phase 2, but on the north side of 1300 North, on the east side of the, in one of the concept plans, it shows a little bit of parking right there, but then in the landscape plan, it just shows landscaping.
Even in our update.
Yeah, this looks like Exhibit B1 master plan map. It shows what looks like a little bit of parking right there. But then when you go to like your landscape exhibits, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It shows it
I
is.
think we removed it because somebody would be backing out onto that roadway and we didn't feel like it was a safe situation.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
If it were more of a drive-in and
I know.
park and then pull out.
Because a little more parking, like kind of to serve these ones up here would be nice, but I do get that aspect of maybe isn't that great. I just wondered if that was brought up or if the intent was.
Depending on the constraints of the FEMA requirements and our grading, we could push those driveways on those three drives just far enough to get a couple, because people naturally park at the end of those anyway. But it's going to depend on the constraints and what we can disturb and not disturb some of the wetlands.
And there's some areas, like out of those, each one of those drives, because line of sight's 30 feet, we can paint curb
Yes.
red for 30 feet on each side of those drives.
Yeah.
Out 30 feet from each intersection.
Do we have some kind of retaining or something happening as well? I wasn't sure what that.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do we have some kind of retaining or?
Yes, and that 15-foot buffer you see there from the edge of the wetland was the constraint.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like we can extend them, so, sorry.
No. It's,
That's okay. I was just looking at any options to try to provide, spots for people to stay off at
Yeah.
1300.
We could pop a couple right off that first building, but really that only serves,
No, probably just that
somebody,
one
and
unit.
I'd rather see the green space than the cars.
It's probably fine. Okay. And in this landscape plan, you're right. It didn't necessarily show these detention basins as being.
Yeah, we plan to get you a more detailed landscape plan so
Right.
that you know what's happening
Yeah.
better. This was just a,
yeah.
Get it.
Get it in.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah,
get it approved.
yeah. So I think because when you get to that spot, we showed, or had the idea of this tree line street or whatever, but if
Mhm.
we're getting rid of that park strip. I think we can just slide those trees back behind sidewalk
okay,
or back somewhere.
Yeah, that's
Out
what
of the
we thought.
utility
Yeah,
area.
so you still kind of have that fill of a little bit of tree line, but
Yeah, that's what we thought.
they're back closer to the units, I guess.
okay.
So any more comments on there? Just with our new application process, we want to make sure that we give them
Right.
any
So I need
corrections.
to go through the whole set. But it shouldn't be too bad because we've kind of already gone through it once and it's just changed. Like the public street really hasn't changed all that much, which is where we focus most of our, attention anyway. So our new process, we're going,
So go to planning commission for plat review.
for preliminary plat review. Okay. And then everything after that is just with our administrative land use authority.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Which is this meeting.
So knowing that new process, how close are we to getting where we could start some construction? And getting the approvals, because you guys meet once for planning commission each month.
Yeah. I would
Any
think,
hope that we could be on the January agenda?
I would think so.
I was going to say the same thing with the comments that we've talked about here, and then if Matt can dive into the details.
Yeah, well, I think especially where it's preliminary plat review, I think we probably have enough, unless there's any huge red flags that need to be addressed. But for preliminary, I
And
think
then
you
final
prob-
plat comes from this body, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So final plat and final improvement drawings will just be here with us. So.
Yeah, because our goal is to have final improvement drawings by February, so that as soon as the groundhog doesn't see a shadow.
And start. So our January is the 10th. 10th of January is our planning commission.
So you need it 15 days before the meeting.
Which they've already submitted, I think, what we need. Okay, so unless
think
there's.
so too. And it's a preliminary plat review from them too.
Okay.
So I think that satisfies the first review at the completion of that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's shoot for that. Matt,
Okay.
we'll have a memo from Matt by the 4th of January.
Merry Christmas to you.
Do we need to get anything else to you, or are you sufficient with what we've got?
I think we're there. I mean, you have. I think Bonavista has at least provided an availability letter, right? Saying you have water, and we'll just have to
That's
have.
one thing I haven't seen.
There's the,
That they will.
this is from Shore, that's Weaver. Is that,
Because they have their process of availability.
Because I think
letter
they gave
first.
of it an availability letter to the previous builder. And when I reapplied, they've kind of revoked that.
Okay,
In
and it
my
wouldn't be
last
a-
conversations, they wanted to have it reviewed, because I am pushing their system, so.
I think we would just require the availability letter, not the will serve letter. So their availability letter is just stating, yeah, we have water in the area. If you meet all the requirements, we'll provide water, right?
Okay.
But then their will serve letter is basically their final approval
Okay.
after they've reviewed all the plans.
So to get to planning commission, you'd like an availability letter from.
Availability, right?
this is from the Weaver Box Elder
No,
Conservation.
that's
No?
Pine View.
Oh, that's Pine
Yeah,
View,
so I see the Pine View, I have that, I don't think I have all of it stuff.
And
I don't know how they
Bonavista
would
said
address that.
in this meeting they will serve it, it's just how.
Yes, yeah.
The availability letter is usually
They've got water
not-
stuffed into the project.
The
On both
availability
sides.
letter isn't ever an issue.
Yeah.
It's the will serve. The availability, they're just saying, yeah, there's water around. But
But we have to have that before we can issue the final approval.
final
Okay.
weird that
So
they would say
before
water's
final
available.
approval?
Yeah.
And then deny it because there isn't water available, right? Or
So their availability won't affect this January 10th meeting?
No.
Availability letter.
Oh, availability,
Not
yes.
will serve.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
The will serve we have to have by final. We will need the service letters for preliminary.
Okay. Okay.
And that's
I'm
in
sorry, I
that
thought you were
checklist.
talking about the will
We've got that
serve.
checklist of requirements for
We sure do.
preliminary, so everything should,
Is that on our website?
I don't think we've posted it yet.
or we can email it, right?
We'll get that on there. We'll put it right under the building zone, planning zoning. The subdivision ordinance is on there, but I don't know if the checklist is on there.
Building, it's
It's building
Building checklist. But we've got that. We'll put it on here.
Okay.
So you can find the checklist of what's required for the
For preliminary
approvals.
and final?
They'll do
Uh-huh.
both.
It has it's a flow chart that shows you.
Okay.
Or is it
It's a
the
checklist.
It's a
It's a
checklist.
But we'll put it, like.
I'm sorry, I don't have it available. I was gonna say, I'll email it to you. How
That would
about
be appreciated. Okay. You got all your questions answered?
They did.
Okay, all right.
Oh, I have one. You have a note here for sheet labels. What was that about?
Oh, they're just not like, so I want to know that this is my phasing plan. That this is my storm drain plan.
That part is right.
So I didn't have my glasses, so that's why. I was like, I don't see it anywhere, so.
It's
okay.
really,
I'm
really,
just used
really
to seeing
small.
it right here, so.
All right,
Able to do something about that.
Okay,
sounds good.
Thank
Thank
you.
all
you.
right, thank you.
We're moving along, aren't we?
Yep.
Have a good day.
Oh, I did think of one other thing. Because we're doing this in 2 phases, is there anything from the phase 1, because we will construct phase 1 and then we'll do phase 2, and so we're just seeking phase 1 approval for right
Uh-huh.
now? Do you need any turnarounds, is that something the fire marshal's gonna say? some people don't like us to
I mean-
dead end streets.
I mean, if you're gonna need a turnaround probably at that last one if you don't do.
Cause yeah, our phase one does come down that roadway as that boundary.
So if you're not doing any of these roads, right, this road or that road
Right.
right now, you're probably gonna need a turnaround in here.
Just a hammerhead.
Yeah.
We just built 70 feet
Yeah,
of that
so
road,
just
and then we're
build
good.
some of that road,
Yep.
Okay.
and then that way they've got a way to back out and come out. That's
Okay.
the only one I see that.
Yeah, that was my only concern was that western side. Okay. Thank you. The fire marshal guy, I wrote him down.
Brian Barker.
On your corner.
Brian Barker. Okay, Brian Barker. Thank you. And is his number north? I'll
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah, more
Okay.
than 55.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
911 works also.
What was that?
911
I need to talk to the
Works at
fire
Brian
We recommend just calling your office.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. All right. He's on one today.
I had to deal with a friend last night, so.
So this one's a walk-in. This wasn't sent out previously. It's, we've talked about this in the past, but it's been a little while. Zoom in here. Do you want to introduce yourself? I know you know some of our team, but
Yeah. First off, I'd just like to say thanks for taking the time to meet with us, and yeah, this is quite a bit more simple than what you guys have been working with already. But essentially, what Tammy's trying to do is she'd like to build an addition to her home, build a garage there, and that kind of stuff. And there is currently a 10-foot easement that is not, right in the middle of her lot where she wants to build. So what we want to do is vacate that PUE easement and then reconvey it where it makes sense, and so she can get a building permit to build or to build an addition to her home.
Is this just one of those old county PUE roadway?
Yeah, so she's hired a private utility locate to make sure that there's currently no utilities within the easement, so it's just kind of legally there, and we want to move it where it makes sense.
Where does it? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, if you go back to that,
it's right here.
yeah, right there.
Oh.
It is a very strange circumstance.
Well, that's because when you pull up the signed plat, which is pretty old, it doesn't show it.
No, it
Like-
shows it.
Like down there.
Yeah, the
Down
dedication
there.
plat.
I didn't see it on there. Because that one just shows the 10 foot along the.
Oh, it's gonna give me.
Yeah, you need a TIFF. You gotta need it.
Just do photo viewer would probably work. Or photos. Either one of those, I think. would work.
Just haven't pulled it up on this big screen yet, so.
Yeah, so here's the easement right here. So this is the easement. Now this is touchscreen,
Yes.
sweet. Okay, so what's happened is at a later date she's acquired ground past her property line here.
Okay.
And then somehow they've been joined into one parcel. This all happened back before the 80s, all right? And then she's also got some ground that's about 2 feet north of her lot here. And so she owns into lot 11, and then lot 11 owns some of this. So pretty much what got platted here, none of the property lines stayed the same except for the street. And so what we're trying to do is move her easement to where her property line now is.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not even trying to vacate, we're just.
Moving it.
Relocate.
Right. So it looks
Relocate.
like what happened is the property line moved, but the easement didn't.
Yep.
Is there, can I just ask a question? Is there a need for an easement?
Well, that's the standard.
Okay.
The standard.
It was. Now
At the
we're
time.
At the time, right? Because now we're going to just really require it along the frontage and not down the property lines anymore. But But we're just back on that.
There is an easement in the back that may make sense to continue
That's what I
access
was
to an
thinking.
easement.
That's what I was.
Yeah, there's some stuff in the back, some telecommunication lines that are back there. But you know, we've got the power company that's got the the power pole back there, and so we want to make sure that they feel comfortable to have access to get back to maintain the pole if needed.
I mean, this dissects their house, the property.
Yeah,
so it's not accurate.
It's not.
GeoGizmo
It's-
at all.
Rely on the survey.
Right.
I wouldn't think there's. So if you can verify that there's no easements going through there, I don't think there's any issue.
Yeah, we
I
verified there's no utilities in there. Private utility locate, and also by pulling maps from the 811.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't foresee any reason. I mean, I understand why it's there now that you explained, because they used to do utility easements on the side, especially if there's power in the back, so they have access. But
So we would just.
So that it's whatever you guys want to do, right?
Well,
That's
if
what
there's existing need for utility back there, we probably need
Probably
to
keep it.
continue
Easement.
the
Just
move it
easement
over to the
and just move it to
property
the new property line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know when we were speaking on the phone, there's 2 separate parcel numbers, correct?
Yes. So it's only going to affect one parcel number, which is what her home's on.
Okay. The other one is the skinny line at the top.
Yep. That parcel 2, that's
And we'll just leave
264
that
square
alone.
feet.
It's not worth touching.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't an
Tammy
issue.
wants to do something with it, but yeah.
Well, it doesn't really make. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense to try and tackle that if it's not going to affect what she needs to do.
Yeah.
So, I believe we vacate or relocate an easement through an ordinance.
Yeah, I've got the code here. There's a few ways that we can do it. Ordinance is definitely the way I would recommend, because doing a subdivision amendment plat is really expensive for Tammy, and also she's already been waiting like a year. She called me a year ago on this, and
Okay,
yeah.
so we're trying to get it squared away. Okay, so we'll draft an ordinance. I'll have to check. I don't know what the public notice is on a utility, or if there's a public notice.
I don't know if there's a public notice requirement on a utility vacation relocation.
we've only done one.
I've done one up on Wild.
It says public street between the 2 nearest public street intersections. I've got the code right here or at least the state code.
Yeah, that's what
Access 300 feet of the public. Proof of written notice to operators of utilities or culinary water, sanitary sewer facilities located. So pretty much we need to tell the stakeholder who may be in the easement that, which there are none, so there
Isn't
any
anybody
need
to
for that,
notify?
right? Or I guess we are notifying you guys.
Yeah. Well, we will. What do we do? We'll have an application, I guess, to vacate an easement.
re-record.
I don't even
Yeah.
believe we have that on our website because it's so unique that we probably haven't done this for a while.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, we typically do it through, we find these things when we're cleaning up subdivisions, so that's when we do it. So we don't even have an application, I'm sure, on our online applications for this. Do we have anything that fits?
Online adjustment or line, what is that one?
Lot line adjustment within subdivision.
Would that, I mean, the
No,
lot line was
she's
adjusted.
yeah.
It's
the-
already
The
been
easement
adjusted.
wasn't adjusted.
yeah.
Could you
What,
fill that out and just add that language to the lot line? Just state that the lot line was adjusted some time ago and the easement didn't
So what
transfer
makes
the
sense
lot
to
line.
me would be to vacate it and then re-record the PUE easement. So Tammy would convey it to Harrisville City, right? But you guys have a thing in your code that says that relocating easement doesn't necessarily constitute a vacation. So, you know, I told you what makes sense to me, but it's your guys' easement, so however you want to do it.
I think that's the easy, I think for being clean, I think the best way is to vacate it and re-record it.
Yeah,
And then do
I
it through
agree.
an ordinance.
That's what I would do, because
Recording of
it's,
the easement through an ordinance and an application, I guess we could
Figure that out.
figure that out, an application, because there will be some,
Because there's got to be property owner permission for us to take action.
yeah.
Correct. She's gonna have to sign.
sign something that says, even though she's the one bringing it to us, we don't want property owners in the future coming back and saying, you didn't, but I don't know that that would ever happen. So this is really quite unique.
Yeah. We'll just cover all bases because
Yeah.
of that uniqueness.
Yeah.
So if we just have a letter from the property owner requesting,
We'll take it as the application.
we'll consider that the application. We will have to pass on any contracted service costs that the city would incur to make the ordinance, to create the ordinance and adopt the ordinance. And then I believe we could do it in the same ordinance, can't
Yeah.
we?
Should be able to vacate the easement.
And that's just per state code, right?
Well, I don't know, you might have to have two separate, I'll have to look into that. Let me look into
Okay.
that and see.
We'll find out whether,
yeah, I've got
regardless, we
state
could.
code right here if you need it.
Regardless, we could do it in the same meeting,
do it in the
whether
same
we
meeting,
had to
yeah.
have two
Absolutely.
different agenda items.
Yeah.
We'll
One
double
would be
check.
vacating and one would be
Recording.
Just for the planning commission.
I have one
No,
question.
it has to be
Yeah.
city.
Two maybe. So this doesn't look like it's going to be 30 feet on the front. I mean, obviously this is super preliminary.
Yeah,
but
super preliminary. We're
make
worried
sure-
about the easement.
Okay. Just make sure when the design comes in that you know you need to still maintain the front setback and the side yard. The side yard looks fine, but the front setback might be a concern with your garage where you're putting it. So if you get the easement.
It sounds like you guys are gonna work with us, so that's great.
And it doesn't require planning commission review because it's just a city council action.
It's not a land, I mean, you're not affecting, not a land use issue, you're not changing anything, you're just
Nope.
relocating an easement, so I
Okay.
think administratively,
Yeah, I'll double check with our attorney and make sure. If you'll check into
I'll
what
check into the
requirements.
requirements for the easement, if we can do it in one ordinance, or if it has to be a vacation and then a relocation.
This is the old R12, which we don't have anymore, but the R12 zone. Do they need to follow the RE15 or the R110?
Any
Like,
new
as far as
buildings
setback?
would be current code.
Most adjacent code.
Okay, but what zone are they right now?
I thought it was R10.
Or
R10.
R110.
Okay, so 25.
Is it
25
25?
front setback.
So, and we could dive into that when building permit.
Kylie, did you hear that?
No.
So you can actually be 25 instead of 30
Okay,
small on that front. So it'll help you get a little bit bigger on that frontage.
that's helpful.
So it looks like we have a little following up to do on I can't promise the timeline because I don't know how long it's gonna take us with the holiday to guarantee January.
Of course.
So let me reach out to you once we've done our homework on our side and we'll get it nailed down to a meeting date.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I'm assuming you guys are probably gonna want a description of where we're vacating and then our new relocating.
yes, we'll need a legal
Yeah,
description.
no problem.
So if you wanna submit that with the letter requesting the application giving permission to the city to take action on her property,
Mhm.
then we'll get going on our side.
Perfect.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
Great. Okay, any other questions for us?
No, this is
I guess-
very helpful.
I just have one question. As I'm reading through this, have you got a legal description of the easement that will be vacated? You've got a
So it was dedicated by plat, and so I will write the portion that will,
Okay.
yeah, and then I'll write a new one for where we're gonna put
The
it.
new one.
Yes.
Okay.
So since it was dedicated by plat, there's not a legal description.
Not a legal description.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sweet.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thanks
Did you
for
did you
waiting.
move cities,
no.
or you just work with multiple cities?
Multiple.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
I get to wear just the building official hat here, not the